Let's see. Now, it's my pleasure to introduce our Council District 10 Council Member-elect, Mark Ridley-Thomas. Currently, he is a third-term member of the Los Angeles County Board of Supervisors for the 2nd Supervisorial District. He served as a California State Senator representing the 26th District from 2006 to 2008, and was a California State Assemblyman representing the 48th District from 2002 until 2006. Before his 6 years in the legislature, he served on the Los Angeles City Council from the 8th District from 1991 to 2002. Good morning, Mark, and congratulations on your win.
Morning, Madam President, Sutro members and friends, associates, and inductees and conscriptees. We take the opportunity to greet you during this holiday season, and thank you for your support in the recent election. Pleased to see as many familiar faces, and pleased to have the opportunity to meet new members of the Block Club. Let me take the opportunity to introduce you to 2 members of my team who are on the line. One, beginning with Fernando Ramirez, who is one who has served with me since the time of the State Assembly, 15 years in. Fernando ran the recent council election, primary and general. He is all things MRT, and we appreciate him profoundly. Why don't we give Fernando a big round of applause? He's that kind of guy. He deserves that. Mary Jones is on the call as well, Madam President and members. Mary Jones began working with me and I with her when I assumed the executive directorship of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference in 1981. Mary has served in a variety of capacities, principally as lead on constituent services in the City Council, the State Assembly, the State Senate, and the Board of Supervisors, and has honored me with returning to service in the city. There is no one in the city of Los Angeles of whom I'm aware who has a longer history and knows more about constituent services, state and local, than Mary Jones. We are fortunate to have her a part of our efforts. Please give her a round of applause and ask her not to leave anytime soon. Otherwise, all of us are going to be in deep trouble. Mary Jones, Mary Jones. I think the request of me was to speak to a few issues that I hope to address. The top of the list is homelessness. I am laser-like focused on that issue. I am unapologetic about it. It is the defining civic issue in the city of Los Angeles. And we are duty bound to address it. Leimert Park is no stranger to this issue. Therefore, it will be one of my top areas of focus. There are 3 identified areas in the 10th Council District where we are constructing a new model of homeless intervention. First is Venice and David, the overpass there, adjacent to public storage in the backdrop of Kaiser Permanente, West Los Angeles. Huge encampment has been there. And my objective is to demonstrate what can be done when resources are brought to bear and determination is focused. The second is Berendo and 6th Street in Koreatown. Homeless encampment there of consequence. Therefore, the distribution of the crisis in the 10th district requires that we look at different parts of the 10th district. Thirdly, and obviously not in order of importance, is Leimert Park Village. That's an asset in this city. It is an asset in the 10th district that requires attention, and I would say intense attention. It was when I was the council person for the 8th district that we completely renovated and transformed the park, a passive park by design, deed restricted, as such, beautified it, and within a relatively short amount of time subsequent to my departure as council person, things began to deteriorate. I won't bore you with all of the details as I observed the deterioration. You no doubt know it with some degree of intimacy as a result of passing by there in your vehicles as well as walking. For those of you who do, there was a point in time when we put a walking path there so you could take a morning walk there without being challenged or accosted. And it was well appointed. It was an even, beautiful, nicely appointed landscaping. All of that went away. But I'm here to tell you I'm back and I will have nothing less. And I appeal to you to join with me in causing that asset to be the asset that it can be for our community. And all of us will have great reason to celebrate. We begin with the issue of looking at the homeless crisis, and we do it with knowledge, we do it with expertise, we do it with compassion, we do it with determination. It will require resources. And to the extent that that is the case, the intervention teams, the multidisciplinary intervention teams will be at work in Leimert Park. Resources have been allocated for that express purpose because there's really no other way to get the job done. I am a resident of Leimert Park, as many of you presumably know, nearly 30 years. And so I'm a close observer as to what goes on in our community. And I wish to collaborate in a way that demonstrates what can and should be done to make communities communities. And it's all about the elevation of the quality of life. I'm committed to that. I believe that's why many of you voted for me, because you know that that's a top priority for me. Now, I could spend the balance of the time talking about homelessness, but I'll move on for the time being and say one of the other areas, let me just back up for a moment. Homelessness is an intersectional issue. In other words, it will cause us to have to look at the issues of land use. It will cause us to have to look at the issue of housing. It will cause us to have to look at the issue of public safety, jobs, and a range of issues. And so I will not choose to look at it narrowly, but broadly and deeply with an eye toward not simply advocacy, but delivery to make results happen. That's why persons who are interested in being on the city council have to be focused in that way. I understand that, and I commit to you that I will not relent until we see daylight on the issues that are of consequence to us. The other thing I want to make a point on is the matter of neighborhood councils, civic engagement, top priority. My project has been the Empowerment Congress, 29 years in. Martin Luther King weekend, we will have the first virtual Empowerment Congress Summit. And some of the themes that I'm discussing now will be featured in that regard. Expect to hear about it, expect to get notifications of it. May I invite you to participate in the Empowerment Congress Summit. And the Empowerment Congress is not an experiment that engages just on an annual basis. It is year round. It is the effort that the Department of Neighborhood Empowerment sought to be modeled after in the 90s. And it has grown. Some had predicted that it would collapse after I left the city council in 2002. To the contrary, it has expanded, grown, and its reach is of consequence. And even to the extent that we've done training for people across the nation as to how this effort works. And so one of the priorities is to figure out how we can cause neighborhood councils, block clubs, homeowners associations, et cetera, to really put a capital C and a capital E on civic engagement. I'll say more about a few other things, but let me just offer this as a final point. Initiating on the question of the arts, I declare that the arts matter. Leimert Park is an extraordinary opportunity to illustrate what the creative economy looks like and can be at the local level. I heard reference made earlier to some initiatives that I think both Diane and Terry are involved in to lift up the village and so forth. I'm all about it and want to be supportive of those efforts. Count on me to do that and to take it to the level that I think we can be proud of. This is not limited to Leimert Park. You will see a new agenda for the arts in the 10th district because we have many assets that are yet untapped, but can be collectivized and projected in a way that brings attention to our reality, to celebrate the arts, to help the young and the old alike do the arts in an extraordinary way. And I think there are people at the ready who will collaborate with us in that connection. There's more to be said. Diane, you mentioned 3 things. Those are 3. If you want 6, I can give you 6. If you look for 12, I can do 12. If you want 24, I'm here. Take me to 48. But I think I'll, at this point in time, stand down and open myself up to the questions that you may have, unless Mary and Fernando may wish to add and or correct anything that I might have offered in error. Madam President.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate that. We do have questions. So I sent out an email asking anyone who had questions in advance to email those to me. We will start with those questions, and to the extent there is time, we will go to the questions that are coming in via chat. So let's see, starting with the questions that I received in advance to pose to you. Let's see, our first one is from Brad Kane, who is the president of Pico Neighborhood Council. Brad's question is, will you continue Council Member Wesson's tradition of visiting Pico Neighborhood Council meetings once a quarter?
Likely, but I want to learn more about what that entails. Um, but I think you'll find me to be actively engaged with the neighborhood councils and trying to optimize their impact in the environment. So the short answer is yes. The longer answer is that you'll no doubt get more, and I trust that you'll collaborate with me in that pursuit. Let's set an example in the 10th district for what neighborhood councils can be and do in the city of Los Angeles. Thank you for that question.
Thank you. Our next question is from Leimert Park resident Tina Ferris. It's a two-part question. What is your plan of action for the increasing homelessness situation? How does allowing big development in the district assist in this situation when allocation to low-income housing is criminally low in comparison to the number of homeless?
Thanks for that question. The issue of homelessness, as we all appreciate, is hugely complex and not without its own brand of controversy. I believe that the language of criminalizing the poor or the homeless has to be brought to a screeching halt. It's not a crime to be poor. And to the extent that is the case, we need to do all that we can to lift people up. We have, in my view, a moral obligation to do so. This is a resource question, ultimately. Nothing that I have said can easily be accomplished absent resources, financial and human resources. And so for those who are homeless, I think we have to, first of all, as the governor requested of me in terms of my co-chairpersonship of his state-wide task force, three things. First, work strategies to get people off the street. Secondly, find treatment for those who are suffering from mental illness and substance use. And thirdly, build housing, build shelter at a faster clip than what has been the case. Those are the three elements that I intend to operationalize at the local level. Development and developers have an obligation to engage with communities to create options for people to live. First, we have to transition people out of homelessness into decent shelter or transitional housing options. And the objective there is to cause them to move into permanent supportive housing, case managed often because of mental health issues and the like. And in addition to that, they have to have a range of supports that are often on site, but not necessarily on site. And so at the Empowerment Congress, we will go into great detail about how all of this works. And when I mention the three areas in which we're going to be constructing a new model, I would say Leimert Park is going to be an example of how to move the agenda of homelessness. And I'm talking about the village proper in such a way that we will have a lot to show other regions in the city of Los Angeles and beyond. And I invite you to collaborate with us in doing so. At the county, I had what I described as the homeless huddle. Experts in communications, experts in health, experts in the law to help me plan help me forecast. I will bring many of those same resources onto my personal staff at the City Hall, and we will drill down. It is the top issue. Everyone who comes to work for me understands that to be the case. And I wish to invite you and others to join me in helping to achieve our common objectives.
Thank you. Our next question is from Yvonne Farrow. Yvonne is the Special Projects Coordinator, Performing Arts Program with the City of Los Angeles Department of Cultural Affairs, and she is also a Leimert Park resident. The question is, what is your vision for the Vision Theater / Manchester Junior Arts Center and for supporting Black arts and culture space in Leimert Park and South Los Angeles? I believe you touched on this a bit, but she is specific about the Vision Theater.
I hope that we can pull together an unprecedented collaboration between Cultural Affairs in the city and the Department of Arts and Culture in the county to do things that we've not seen. If they don't want to do it throughout the city, I'm glad enough to have it happen in the 10th district. And add to that a level at which philanthropy plays, the private sector plays. A lot of what we're going to have to do in the arts is going to be public-private. But I'm very excited about the potential for what can be done, both in terms of a multicultural overlay and an Afrocentric thrust. They are not contradictory, they're complementary. And I believe that these things can be done, and I welcome the opportunity to collaborate in so doing. The County of Los Angeles finally now has a standalone Department for Arts and Culture. And I'm proud of the fact that I authored the motion that brought that into existence. And so I'm all about the arts, and I look forward to seeing what we can accomplish together. I mean, we have just extraordinary things right in the village itself. But from Debbie Allen to Little Washington to Wendy Raquel Robertson to the Underground Museum to CAM, and we have a lot of assets, and we need to see them as assets. The African American Museum, but we have so many pieces that we can put together. Add to that what's happening in the Asian Pacific Islander community, in the Latino community. I know that this can come together in powerful, powerful ways. Can't wait to get going.
Thank you. The next question that was sent to me in advance. This question came in from multiple community members, and I am going to try to condense it. There's a big concern about the city's lack of response to requests for major and minor street repairs, requests that have been made over the course of multiple years from residents on multiple blocks within the community. And the overarching question is, how will or how can you assist us in getting the necessary repairs made finally?
This is what I've learned. Communities in collaboration with their elected officials or office holders and those who work for those elected officials and office holders have to collaborate, even conspire, in order to get things done. It takes a degree of ingenuity, a degree of creativity, a degree of imagination to accomplish these things. This is the stuff of which the Empowerment Congress was made when it was launched. And it was designed to help people know how to work the system, how to, if I can use this language, how to demystify government, to educate our constituencies as to the responsibility that a council district has, office has, a responsibility that is only made accountable for its relationship with constituents to get the constituents the things that they deserve in an attempt to assuage the frustration factor. It is essentially raising the expectations that the respective departments in the Board of Public Works, from street maintenance to street lighting, etc., understands that when the 10th district shows up, understands that when the Leimert Park community shows up, that we have an expectation that is reasonable and that results can be wrought. And I will not be absent from that conversation. My staff will not be absent from that conversation. That's essentially how we do it. And I would add, in the context of the Empowerment Congress Summit, one of the workshops will be to go through the details of how that's done and what it entails. Not on an annual basis alone. The point to be appreciated is that in the monthly meetings of the various committees of the Empowerment Congress, we had not just simply public safety, but Mary, you recall we had community standards, because there's a distinction to be made between community standards and public safety. Community standards is largely driven by public works and building and safety. Public safety is the domain largely of law enforcement. And I just simply want to say that I know that collaboration with these respective departments, the constituents, and the council office, we can get stuff done. And that's what it's ultimately about. And so I invite your insights and your participation. Let me not give the impression that everything can be done that is requested. But I don't believe in excuses. I don't believe in saying, well, the city is broke. And ladies and gentlemen, let me just simply say to you that I've already been confronted with that. A little data might be useful. When talking with the chief legislative analyst about budget issues, they said, hold up, Mr. Ridley-Thomas, the city is faced with a $600 million deficit. It is all but unprecedented. And I listened, and I can only tell you, Diane and company, where there's a will, there's a way. And I do not intend to have the 10th district to be taken into a place of the back seat in terms of the resources that are to be expended in the city of Los Angeles. I'm not unrealistic about how daunting some of this work is. The reason I returned to the city is because I know how to do it. And I think the people of the 10th district deserve someone who knows how to do it, can do it. And I'm bound and determined to demonstrate that to you.
Thank you. So it's 11:03. I know I asked you to remain with us until 11. If you would indulge me, I'd like to ask 2 more questions. Do you have time for that?
I do.
Thank you. The first of the final 2 questions is from Joy Atkinson.
Hi, Joy.
And she's a, I believe, Jefferson Park resident, if my memory serves me correctly.
Country Club.
Okay. Her question is, do you have an opinion about the Crenshaw Crossing development touted by your colleague, Marquise Harris Dawson, and any opinion on the Baldwin Hills Mall development?
Crenshaw Crossing. There are essentially 3 significant projects along the corridor made possible in part by transportation, and I haven't talked about transportation much, but the Crenshaw to LAX line is a $2.2 billion investment with 8 stations which could inspire transit-oriented development. The CEO of the Metro talks about transit-oriented communities. It is the most significant public investment that we will see in our lifetimes, because from a land use economic development basis, not just simply on Crenshaw, but out throughout the county of Los Angeles. That's where public money really is measuring when it was passed, put forth 120 billion over a 40-year period of time. And so it's going to be the driver, and we need to be smart. Those of you who are around with the CRA, the MTA is effectively, operationally, the new CRA. And we need to understand it, orient it toward that, cause it to help block clubs do things like tree plantings and a whole range of other things to be discussed. And so the project that is moving furthest at this point along the path on Crenshaw is going to be the Watt Development Project in tandem with the Los Angeles Church of God in Christ. And then there was another project where Rouse was, and then it was supposed to be Target and so forth. Joy, I don't know if that's what you're referring to when you talk about Crenshaw crossings. Which one are you referring? I'm unclear. And then the mall is another issue, which is significantly controversial, as we all know. And some dates are supposed to be coming up where the current proposer or bidder is going to do or die. Both Councilman Harris Dawson and I were discussing it today. It rests in the 10th, which is the northern portion of the mall, and the 8th, the southern portion of the mall. We've yet to articulate what kind of collaboration would take place, but we will invite input from obviously the community, and I mean that in the broadest sense. So let me just simply say this to you as quickly as I can. Development projects are not only controversial, they're very hard. It is conceivable to me, and I'm talking about the mall, that we think quickly, effectively as to what it is we'd like to see happen and get moving. Otherwise, it will be minimally a decade before something materializes. I don't want you to even begin to think about what a decade of undeveloped underperforming land use of some nearly 50 acres with Mean on Crenshaw and Martin Luther King Boulevard. That's a much bigger discussion. I'm more than willing to have it. I would just simply offer that the Watt project is the project that's moving fastest. We just put in a motion because it's a project that replaces the probation department that was owned by the county. We're driving that, the county did, with Metro and the city, because it's in the city, has a piece of it. The bottom line is the motion that I introduced about a month ago creates an opportunity for a substantial level of affordable housing with market rate housing, 50-50. If my recollection is right, it moved from 80-20 to 50-50. And that acknowledges the realities with which we are dealing. I don't know if that's what you meant by Crenshaw Crossing or not. I'm sorry, you muted, Diane.
It's referring to the
Yes,
Gabbay multi-use project on Crenshaw and Obama.
That is the Crenshaw Crossing project,
Right.
company project.
And Jeff, Dave, you're talking about Jeff, you were talking about the Gabbay project. That's significantly challenged. And one of the things that I will have to do pretty quickly is scrub it. I mean, it's no matter of the lack of knowledge that the developers ended up in a huge controversy with allegations around bribery and whatever else, fraudulent activity. So I don't know where that will be, but I can tell you, I'm not going to be tolerant of a big parcel of land remaining undeveloped. I will tell you, I've seen enough of that, and our community deserves better than that. Manchester, Vermont, 27 years ago, there was a civil unrest, and the developer there decided that he just wasn't going to cooperate with that community and left it vacant. Homeless encampments, murders, and a whole range of other things began to happen. And through just grit, determination, and the collaboration with Councilman Harris Dawson, I put in a motion at the Board of Supervisors to acquire that property by eminent domain. It now will be a fabulous project. The first boarding school in the history of the state of California focusing on transportation. It will be 180 units of affordable housing and a brand new market to boot. I know what can be done, and I will not let developers stand in the way of the progress of our community to the extent that it's humanly possible.
Thank you. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Final question. And this is from Dr. Irina Sugar, who is the principal at 42nd Street Elementary School here in Leimert Park on 42nd Street at the corner of 5th Avenue. Congratulations on your return to the LA City Council. Please share your thoughts on working with local public schools and supporting education.
Unknown factoid, I'm trained as an educator. I have teaching credentials in secondary education, community college education, and adult education. Teaching is my first love. I did go through LAUSD from Main Street Elementary to Ascot to Carver, then junior high, to Manual Arts where I graduated. I did student teaching at Manual Arts and at Fairfax High School. I did student teaching at Area E Alternative School, which focused on then elementary school education. And so I think that education is the fundament of democracy. An illiterate populace only means that the people will be manipulated by those in power, both public and private. So I think we need to make a huge investment in education. My journey in terms of public office has not allowed me to focus on education as much as I had intended. I did run for the Board of Education in 1987, and then board member Rita Walters thought different of it, and she defeated me resoundingly. That's a part of history people don't know. They think that I've been an office holder so long. My first election, I was not successful. And it had such a bruising impact on my psyche until I've never lost any election since that time. But I will have a deputy for education on my team. And I will make sure that she's made known to you. You will appreciate her. She's from our very community and graduated from Crenshaw High, went to then Stanford, and from Stanford she went to Harvard. She finished a PhD in education at Harvard. She's working for me and I couldn't be more proud of her. You will be pleased to get to know her and she will be helpful.
Thank you so much. Well, it's 11:15. I know you have a very busy day ahead of you. I just want to thank you for taking the time to be with us prior to your official transition. And hopefully this is not the last time you'll join us here at Sutro Avenue Block Club. We'll look forward to hosting you again in the future when you officially assume your new role. Again, congratulations.
Thank you very much for your support, your help. We appreciate it.